All hope seems lost as Norman is officially about to be shipped out. But are Emma and Ray simply just going to give up? The most intense and riveting anime of the season continues in an extremely hard-hitting episode of The Promised Neverland. Here's that preemptive spoiler warning. Make sure to go check out that episode and then come back to this review. Guys, this episode was like a punch directly to the gut. A punch to the balls, if you will, as Norman is being shipped out to go and meet his brand new parents. Which is to say he's about to be devoured by some disgusting and giant demons. And this episode didn't really sugarcoat anything, and that it actually made me feel completely lost and hopeless for these children. I honestly don't know how they're going to escape at this point, especially with the big massive revelation that the farm they're staying on is a massive hexagonal place, which is separated by a cliff that you're going to have to be some sort of Olympian to be able to jump over, and the only way to actually escape is to just waltz past a bridge which leads directly into headquarters. Demon headquarters. So I honestly don't know what they're going to do at this moment, but man, this episode just absolutely hit me right in the feels, especially the big scene where Norman actually left his friends. It was incredibly depressing, especially because Norman, Emma, and Ray, Dawn, and Gilda know everything that's actually going on with these children, and they have to put on this act for all of the other kids as to not cause any panic. And the scene with Norman actually leaving and Emma desperately just like tackling him to try and do one last desperate chance to get him to escape just hurt so much to see. Emma is never going to give up in her effort to try and escape from this place, and she's not even going to fall prey to actually losing herself like Mother Isabella, even when given the offer to become a mother. That's what's so incredible about Emma, is that she's just another one of those classic anime characters who refuses to give up in her effort to succeed. But that moment where Norman was finally getting ready to leave truly showed her resolve, as well as Norman's as well, as he's willing to sacrifice his very own life as long as he knows that it will actually give the other children a chance to actually escape. His ability to keep himself cool during this moment is also worth mentioning, as if I were in a situation like that, I would be freaking the hell out. I would immediately probably be calling out Mother Isabella for the fact that she's raising these children as food. For him to actually do that shows how incredibly mature of a character he is. It makes his removal from the series all that more hard-hitting. In fact, I think one of the more emotional scenes was when he and Mother Isabella were actually walking out towards the gate, and he actually questions her, is she even happy? And she immediately shows some vulnerability for the very first time in the series. For the first time, it doesn't seem like Isabella is putting on an act as she actually reveals her true nature, but suddenly immediately goes back to her very creepy mother-like self. What is interesting, however, is when they actually do go through the gate. Unlike Connie, they actually end up going into this room, and this could mean one of two things. One, this is where they actually go to kill the children by inserting the flower into their bodies, or two, something else is happening to Norman here. In some ways, I kind of refuse to believe that this character is officially gone from the series at this point. I just don't want to see it happen, as really continuing on without Norman just almost seems kind of wrong. You can't have Emma without Ray and Norman, and vice versa. These three characters really do encapsulate everything about this series, and man, like I said, just knowing that Norman is gone now is so just depressing, because he's such a cornerstone out of all of these characters and has been so instrumental in actually teaching them how to actually escape. When Norman leaves, the entire atmosphere of the entire series changes, with the characters going into extreme depression. Ray doesn't even want to try and escape anymore and accepts his very own death, and Emma is just absolutely furious at Mother Isabella. And the scene between these two, I have to say, just made me writhe with anger. I just could not stand it, because Mother Isabella is there trying to comfort Emma, even still knowing that these kids are just being raised as food. She's trying to get her to accept her very own fate, and even offers to give her the ability to become a mother. And then, of course, Emma refuses all of this. It made me realize that these two characters are so different from one another in what they actually represent. Emma herself is a clear representation of never giving up hope and never giving up. And then, of course, you have Isabella, a character who, despite seeming incredibly arrogant and confident in what she's actually doing, is a character who is just filled with absolute despair and hopelessness. She's a character who gave up on everything. She gave up on her very own humanity. This is something that Emma doesn't want to do, and she doesn't want to go down the same path. But throughout the course of the episode, we basically get to see the reaction of Norman leaving and how it affects every single character, except in the very final scene of the episode. He's confronted by Emma, who finds him sort of like singing randomly, which is kind of strange. He's basically saying goodbye to the house. Ray questions if Emma truly is going to give up in this moment, and she actually reveals her true resolve, not with any words, but simply with just the expression on her face. Emma isn't giving up anytime soon, and I have to say that that final moment just sent a massive chill down my spine and has me so excited to see what the final 2 episodes of the season are ultimately going to deliver. So, what's the rundown on this episode of The Promised Neverland? Another one of those episodes where almost nothing can happen, and they can take a situation which takes place in the same place that we've seen multiple times, but they still manage to give it this cinematic flair and make everything just seem so tense with every single scene. It's a testament to the skill of the animators and the voice actors, and it just plain works. Especially the scene where Norman does leave for the very first time. There's this amazing shot of Dawn and Gilda who are consoling Emma as we get this shot that's moving up the stairwell, and you get to see like it's moving up through the middle of it. This was just a sequence which just blew me away, and there's really nothing all that special about it, but it's just the way that it's actually executed. I especially love, too, that there was that great scene where they mentioned that Ray doesn't actually want to see Norman off, but as he's leaving, they actually do share glances with one another. And again, this is another one of those scenes where you don't need words. Just their actual expressions show you everything that they're truly feeling in this moment. Really, this was just a very intense episode, which has gotten rid of one of the main characters of the series, which in and of itself is incredibly depressing. But this is one of those episodes which delves into the humanity of the characters in so many different ways. Whether it be Emma's ability to never give up on anything, or Ray just giving up on everything entirely. It's a complete, 180 for that character because of how much that he's actually been through since the beginning of the series, having the knowledge that he's had, and then suddenly just giving up here. It really shows that Norman was not just a rival for him, but truly like a family member, a brother, if you will, and it completely wrecked and destroyed his entire world. And with Isabella still managing to keep up this charade the entire time, just again speaks volumes for what sort of degenerate and fucked up villain that she truly is. I really can't wait to see if she's going to receive any sort of comeuppance by the end of the series, and that expression from Emma at the end believes me that it might just happen. Also, again, I'm just gonna joke about this again, Phil is fucking horrifying. Just look at this kid. I'm fully convinced he's a demon. That being said, it was also a really sad moment when Phil was actually trying to console Emma at the end when she was getting incredibly depressed after Norman left. And really, I think that's the biggest scene of the entire episode, was the big final moment between Emma and Norman when he was leaving, as she actually desperately tried to use that device on his ear, saying that if she just tries to get him to escape, she can somehow just distract Mother Isabella, giving him the opportunity to leave. But still, what's he gonna do? Is he really just gonna run headlong into headquarters, into frickin' demon territory? That's only gonna result in his death. He knows there's not really much for him to do, and even the scene with him leaving, he packs nothing in his suitcase except for these 2 cups and string, which he actually used when they were younger to communicate with one another. Symbolic of the fact that he's not going to forget his friends, but also just telling Mother Isabella that he knows there's really nothing for him on the outside. He's screwed at this point. Again, however, like I said, the scene of him walking into that mysterious doorway being led by Isabella leads me to believe that there might actually be more of a future for Norman, but what that is still a complete and utter mystery, as we don't know what actually exists outside. We actually haven't seen it, and I'm probably never going to see it in this season at all. I'm really anxious to see how it's all going to come to an end, and I really hope that I'm not going to crack and read the manga version, as I'm really sort of hoping that as the first season ends, they're just going to immediately announce the next season, because I want to see more of this, I want to see it unfold, and I love nothing more than seeing a unique anime series that gives me something that I've never seen before, and I don't want to read a manga that could potentially spoil all of those major events for me. What I will say is, this episode was pretty damn good, one of the best of the series, and made me realize that I truly do care about these characters, and seeing one of the main ones actually get snuffed out in this episode really just smacked me right in the feels in the worst way possible. It made me feel like shit, but even with that in mind, my spirits do manage to rise a little bit when we get to see that Emma is simply not going to give up. She is just a little fireball of energy, and I can't wait to see what sort of plan she's going to come up with in order to get these kids out of here. I'm very anxious to see how this this season's going to end. This episode was fucking awesome, which is why I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. You guys need to check it out, and I would love to get all of your thoughts about this episode in the comments section below. Is he really going to be eaten by demons, or do you think there's actually something else going on with that character? What did you think about that moment with Mother Isabella actually showing a little bit of vulnerability and maybe even a little bit of humanity? And what sort of plan is Emma even going to come up with? Let's just get a discussion going about this episode in the comment section below. Thank you all for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down, baby.